mijn werk. Het probleem is dat ik dan maar... Wacht even. Wat je ziet. Nee, dat was volgens mij iets met zo en hij heeft geschreven, maar dat is werkwijze bij die schrijving van het probleem. Volgens mij geschreven heeft van ja, er zijn twee auteurs, die zijn nog niet eens met elkaar. Oké, dat is het probleem. Ik dacht ja, maar context en dat kunnen los is. Ja, maar als je daar dan een kaart van ziet, wat dat de eerste is, dus de stap haal ik wel van de stap. tussen. Ik snap er niks van. Ik kan het niet meer. Ja. Dat vond ik dan leuk toen ik kwam iedere keer weer een student in. Oh, dat is er ook zo een. Lijkt me ook leuk om daar gewoon gesprekken over te zijn. Waar lopen we tegenaan?
En het bleef heel lang. Thanks to Mrs. Ineke Schuit, our organist for today, whose wonderful playing graces this moment every year. Thank you very much. We will hear Ineke playing again when the procession leaves at the end of the ceremony. Dear all, dear students and colleagues, distinguished guests, partners and collaborators from the city, the region, the Netherlands, and the rest of the world. It is an honor and a pleasure to welcome you to Maastricht University's 49th Dies Natalis. That's right, we're almost 50, and I think we can indulge in a little midlife crisis. But rather than starting an affair or buying an SUV, we might actually want to ask ourselves some big questions. Questions like, what is the purpose of this university in 2025? As a young university, we are perpetually forging our identity. But the same goes for European universities that look back on 900 years of tradition. From medieval scholastic institutes educating a priestly class, to universities helping to build, map, and administer an empire, to colleges producing engineers to drive the Industrial Revolution. Universities have always, in some way, responded to what the age demanded. Their missions have always subtly adapted in response to broader cultural, economic, and political movements. So, what is a university? And what is it for? We all have some instinct that universities generate and transmit knowledge. Humanity has, I think, an ambiguous relationship with knowledge and truth. We have an inherent drive to explore, to find patterns, to understand. We have certainly always appreciated finding out things that can be operationalized. On the other hand, no one likes to be proven wrong. No one likes to be confronted with inconvenient truths that challenge us to change. The problem is that you can't have one kind of knowledge without the other. Universities serve society not only through knowledge that can be turned into money or comfort, but also through knowledge that challenges. It is our duty to look critically and scientifically at everything. Universities are a sense-making tool. As such, we must challenge. As such, we must, at times, be unpopular. We are living through a sense-making crisis. All the world's conspiracy theories in the palm of our hands, and peer-reviewed knowledge behind a formidably crenellated paywall. We see scientific evidence readily sacrificed at the altar of public opinion. No fact-checking needed anymore. When people say they do their own research, they often mean believing the first grifter with a podcast. The academic community must make a better counteroffer here. Open science, which Maastricht University has very much embraced, could provide the answer. Making the process and all the results public might help restore trust in science. You might not understand all the data, but with enough training, it is there for you to double-check. Academic research is complex, yes, but it shouldn't be or even seem arcane. Universities generate knowledge, but they should perhaps do more to help people make sense of it. Universities have always been centers of learning, but learning what and why? We serve our students by educating them, and society by providing highly qualified graduates. Of course, employability is an important, pragmatic factor when designing programs. Students invest in an education to get a higher salary later. But following that logic to the bitter end leaves us with just computing and microchip engineering. The world is changing fast, and our programs must keep evolving, even if it raises some eyebrows. We want to offer our students a great education. Despite what many publications pride themselves on, it is very hard to measure these things. Would less demanding curricula, and more whirlpools, or mindfulness for that matter, increase students' satisfaction? Well, quite possibly. But would it better empower them to make a positive impact in the world? I doubt it. We certainly have to listen to what our students want. At the same time, we try to challenge them at every corner, precisely because that is what a great education does. Whether it's minors or electives, or more diverse and action-oriented curricula, we want to respond to students' transdisciplinary questions about ethics, sustainability, well-being. We want to provide the challenges that lead to growth. And to achieve that, our teachers are crucial. Here, we must challenge academic incentive structures. We have to elevate teaching from a bothersome obligation and distraction from research to a calling, something noble that allows you to shape the world. And that means investing in teaching staff and making sure their workload allows them to shine and grow as teachers. But universities are more than just research and teaching. They are integral parts of communities. Since the pandemic, we have all discovered the possibilities of digital infrastructure. But we mustn't forget that being at a university is a formative experience, a safe, structured way into independence, emotionally, intellectually, and logistically. It is a place to explore and expand your worldview beyond the strictly academical. The ideas and life stories you encounter during jiu-jitsu practice, the mass cleanup, or while cooking together make your academic skills more valuable to society. And this kind of exchange should be encouraged, even when it is challenging. A university must provide students with the tools and platforms to test ideas against one another in a safe and respectful environment. On an even more tangible note, we shouldn't forget that this university also has the privilege and responsibility to maintain many historical buildings in the Maastricht city center. Even people who have nothing to do with the academic community can see and feel their architectural heritage is full of life, ambitions, and ideas. Universities are parts of cities, not things apart. For example, Maastricht University is an economic driver, contributing more than 700 million euros to our region. We contribute to almost 10,000 jobs, more than 6,000 of which here in Maastricht. On the Brightland campuses, collaborates with the province of Limburg, municipalities, and European companies to work on innovation. This, along with the supply of graduates we provide, makes our region competitive. Now, recent political discussions have shown a worrying lack of awareness of how Limburg's economy is inextricably linked to in a way that isn't the case for some other universities in the Netherlands. To spell this out, the proposed switch to all Dutch undergraduate education would cost Limburg's economy around €1 billion over 4 years. Have we explained that well enough? Are people willing to listen? And I know that decision makers in our region, and those present here today, are, of course. Would like to thank them for that. A university like ours is an integral part of civic society. As university administrators, we are terrified of the ivory tower label. But if I take a step back, then frankly, I don't recognize this at all. We are a young, international, inclusive university in the former mining region. Our scientists are doing their level best to communicate their research to the broader public. Many of them also actively involve citizen scientists. We are strongly embedded in our region and run hundreds of activities to inform and benefit citizens. Think anything from health interventions to preserving the local language. Now here, the idea of elitism seems more like a Faustian late British Empire cliché kept alive by demagogues. And it sells, because nothing winds up people more than suspecting someone else might be looking down on them. The question is, are we effectively communicating the positive contribution we are making? Anyway, I know I have left you with more questions than answers. But that's what academia and midlife crisis are about. And I know that you, our community, are willing to reflect on these topics. And for even more uncomfortable, yet inspiring questions, it is my great pleasure to introduce today's keynote speaker, Johan Feisi, Professor of Social Dimensions of Environment and Change at the University of York. Professor Feisi focuses on understanding how to achieve fundamental shifts in society towards more regenerative and sustainable futures. Professor Feisi, it is a pleasure having you here today, and I would like to ask you to step forward and deliver your lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, ladies, gentlemen, dignitaries, celebrants, scholars. It's very nice to be here. Thank you. You probably have already gathered that we're living in a genuinely transforming world. Things and the pace of change is enormous at the moment, and it's probably only going to get more challenging. Climate change, obesity, global shifts in economic power. All of these different things are affecting all of us in different ways, and there are many challenges that are happening at our local communities and at national scales. This is affecting every sector in society, including our universities. Universities are part of our formalized knowledge systems, the funding structures, other aspects of our education systems, and we're all being affected by these many challenges that we're dealing with. Science and technology that's emerged through our universities over the last couple of 100 years has brought phenomenal benefit, incredible benefits. It's transformed the human condition. I wouldn't be able to be here without that. There's no doubt about that. But what's also worth remembering is that it's also brought many challenges. Our science and technology, often from our universities, has enabled huge amounts of capability for harm. The technology has enabled us to have war, to colonize, wipe out cultures, people, and species. It's also brought phenomenal unintentional consequences. What we do in universities has partly created the ability to create kinds of societies that are generating things like climate change, obesity, and plastics, and the challenges that we have with that. So whilst it's brought many benefits, we're part and parcel of that whole system. Our societal system, we're part of it. And we can't go forward, given the nature and pace of the scale of the challenges that we face, without really reconsidering what our role is in this process, and reconsidering what it is that we might need to do to contribute better to developing new kinds of capabilities to deal with the challenges that we face. A friend of mine, Andy Middleton, he lives out on the west coast of Wales. He's an educationalist, and he's an entrepreneur. And he sort of equates this kind of skill level that we need to deal with something like climate change as a bit like what we call a class 5 or 6 river. So do we have any kayakers or canoeists in the room? Anybody who's been in a kayak or canoe, stick your hand up. Let's just have a look. Right, a few of you. Okay, so you might know that when we classify the difficulty of rivers, it's on a 1 to 6 scale. A 1 is pretty flat. You can float down it. A 3, you need some skill. But when you get to 5 or 6 level, then that's pretty serious. And as Ken Whiting says, at a grade 6 level, these exemplify the boundaries of difficulty, unpredictability, and danger, and have almost never been attempted before. That's what Andy says about the kinds of capabilities we need, the skill level we need to deal with things like climate change. The problem, he says, is that most people haven't got out the paddling pool at the top of the river yet. So it's serious stuff. And if we want to contribute into the world in the way that we perhaps need to now, given the scale of the challenges, we're going to have to accept that we might need some change. Some of the things that we might need to move towards is much greater focus on how we might support change. Universities are brilliant at doing analytical capabilities. That's important, has its place for sure. But if we want to be able to move forward, we need and develop those capabilities, we're going to have to ratchet up and accelerate the learning about how we support change. If you think about many of the intergovernmental types of panels and reports that are produced, they've been really, really important. The IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the Intergovernmental Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, brilliant things, really important things, but they tend to focus on analysis of the problems. They're not really answering these sort of questions we need about how we support change. Another element of that that's related to that is that if we're going to do that and support change, we need really different kinds of ways of knowing to do that. So imagine trying to get to a new future. First of all, we need some imagination. People like to think they're good at imagining, but often they're not because their imaginations are so based on what you already are familiar with. We also need the creativity about how to get there. And of course, we need the evidence too, and we're good at doing the evidence in our universities. But we have that evidence from, if we only rely on evidence from the past and the present, it's a bit like driving forwards whilst looking through the rearview mirror. So we need these very, very different ways of thinking and knowing and ratcheting up that capability. A third element of that is we also need to develop, through our universities, the wisdom of how to act. Aristotle knew and understood wisdom quite well, even 2,000 years ago. And he said that a wise person, or practical wisdom, comes from the combination of three kinds of knowledge. This first is the epistemic knowledge. That's the abstract form of knowledge. Like, we're really good at this in universities. We're brilliant at it. PowerPoint presentations like this one, or research papers, or written assessments. We're very good at those, doing those sorts of things. But Aristotle said we also need the techne, which is the embodied know-how. So if you imagine driving a car, you're kind of feeling your way through it. You're not consciously doing it. It's very hard to learn to ride a car by watching a PowerPoint presentation. You have to get in the car and start learning how to do it. On top of that, though, we also need the phronesis. The phronesis is the knowledge about what makes a good or right end. I could be driving that same car, taking somebody to hospital, or I could be driving the car with a bomb in the back. They're completely different things. And it's the combination of all those three kinds of knowledge that generates the wisdom, according to Aristotle. And I think that we need to be putting much more focus of that in our universities. When you think about this, then, this raises some really challenging questions for us. It raises challenging questions around our existential nature. Not just whether we can continue to exist in the face of the kinds of challenges that we're facing, but also the questions about who we are. Why do we exist? What is our purpose? Whom do we really serve in our universities? Are we here to continue to produce ever more knowledge about social and biophysical phenomena, or do we now need to create that shift towards understanding how we develop the wisdom to act? That's a big challenge for universities. This on the screens that you can see here is some work that we did with about 350 people using some futures methods. And it was an attempt, at least, to start to try and understand what we might need to do to transform our formalized knowledge systems in order to be able to better support societal transformations. Now, this isn't perfect, but it gives you a sense of what comes out. There were suggestions we need to be much more interconnected, widely informed, trust-based, high creativity. Importantly, we need outcomes from our universities for everybody. Science needs to be for all, and there was this suggestion that we need much more focus on the generation of wisdom. Doing this in a university is not easy. We have very strong traditions that have lasted and emerged from 200 or 300 years, often for very, very good reasons. So when we're facing the nature and the scale of the challenges that we've got, and we want to renew ourselves in the face of those challenges, we're going to have to deal with some pretty difficult assumptions and challenges that might already be there. Fortunately, over the last 2 or 3 decades, There's been much advance in our understanding of how one might support transformational change, systemic change, or from sustainability transitions. And I'm going to impart some of the lessons that have come out from that work. And the first lesson is that if we want to renew our universities, we have to see it as a transformational endeavor. Transformation is a very different kind of change to what we're usually used to. Much of our changes that we deal with is about adjustments or reforms. That's usually a kind of change to keep things the same. Transformation is about creating something fundamentally different. The best analogy for that comes from nature, and I'm sure you've heard this one before, but it's about the transition of a caterpillar to a butterfly. But it's a great analogy, because what a caterpillar does when it goes into its chrysalis, it actively chooses to dissolve itself. I don't think we're very good at doing that as human beings, right? But then what it does is it reallocates the same resources to try and create something new. It's not asking for more money from mum and dad. It's not asking for more money from government. It's actually using the same resources to create something new. And what it creates is a butterfly, existentially different, has a different function, a different ability, a different purpose. It can fly, it can drink nectar, it procreates. Most of the change that we see around us is about creating fatter, fitter, faster caterpillars. It's not about creating butterflies. So there's a fundamental difference there in how we understand what change is and what we're actually looking for that matters. And the second lesson is that when you're going through a process of transformation, you've got to hold on to that transformational intent. It's all so easy to get sidelined by everything that's going on, and it's difficult to do. This is a framework that you can see on the slides that we use with multi-stakeholder engagement. It's a bit like the 5-line stave in music, and you kind of put your notations on to look at the pattern shifts that you might want to achieve. It's called 3 Horizons, and it's about imagining the futures emerging as a set of different horizons. We're standing in the first horizon, looking out, way out into that third horizon in the distance, the vision that we want to get to. But there's a second transitional horizon in between. And what we mean by the pattern on that axis is really just, if you imagine it as a university, it's the combination of things that make up a university. It's infrastructure, it's people, it's knowledge, it's students, it's courses, and its underlying assumptions. So when we're talking about a shift, we're shifting from the first horizon through to the third horizon via a second horizon transition. The key point in that process, as I said, though, is that you have to maintain that transformational intent. So often, we're doing change to keep things the same, not to create something different. Now, when you're going through that kind of process of change, it's really helpful to understand that you're really working with 3 different mindsets and orientations to the future. The first is the mindset of the manager. Managers are actually really important in a transformation because their job is to keep the lights on and make sure the system doesn't collapse as you're going through the change. That's important. You need the visionaries to keep your ambitions high and to maintain that transformational intent. And then you need the entrepreneurs who are going to seize on the opportunities that you can now. Entrepreneurs are interesting because they often look at the visionaries and say, hey, you're completely wacky, right? And then they look at the managers and say, you're a dinosaur, right? So you need that intersection between all those 3, though, to make it work and make it happen. And often the big thing that's misunderstood is the manager position. Because the performance in most institutions for managers is actually to keep things the same. All their performance measures are about that. So you have to think of the manager's job as being about the reallocation of resources if you want to create something new. Now, in a process of transformation, it's never smooth, it's never easy. And you get many different patterns of change that happen in that process that can emerge. The first is a possibility for capture and extension. You see this a lot in the public sector, but there's not really a mandate for change. In the UK, for example, our National Health Service, everybody knows we've got to change it, but nobody really wants to mess with it too much. And what happens in that capture and extension is you start to get a decline of that first horizon, the rise of the second horizon that disrupts that. But then those innovations, well-intentioned innovations, get captured to reinforce the status quo. And so you get this oscillation, a decline of the first horizon, rise of the second horizon, decline of the first, and so on. And it takes much, much longer for your third horizon pattern to emerge. Another example is collapse and renewal. And that tends to happen either within an organization, an institution, or a society when there's a strong adherence to a very particular ideology. And you put loads and loads of resources into trying to prop up that system despite the kind of change that's happening around it. And what then happens is nothing can stay the same forever. You just can't hold that, and then the system collapses. And what we know from the collapse of past societies is that the more you hold on to it, the greater the severity of the collapse will be, and there's no guarantee that a third horizon pattern will emerge. The third pattern that's there is the investment bubble. And that's when everybody rushes to a kind of second horizon space trying to create something they think it's the right thing to be doing, and then they kind of get stuck in it and the bubble bursts. I think that's exactly what's happened in the UK. We've put, over the last 10 or 15 years, massive attempts to bring in more and more high fee-paying international students. We knew that wasn't going to last forever. The bubble has burst, and many of our universities are in a really difficult position. So the point about investment bubbles is they can be useful if you see it as part of a transformation, because you can use that investment, those resources you're gaining, but then you have to reallocate. You have to use it very, very strategically. I don't think we've done that in the UK. And the Chinese proverb is really helpful there. It says that, if you choose to ride the tiger, it can be very difficult to get off. So the point here is that there are these very different patterns, and that navigational skill that you need, that I was talking about before, needs to be really high to be able to deal with that. You need very strong teams that can take these things forward, and trust becomes really important in that process. Another really key important point is to remember that this is very difficult to do, but in that process, it's really important to grow patterns of hope. That's effectively what you're doing when you're doing transformation. And that's really interesting because there are different elements you can look in that. For example, in the second horizon space, really what you're doing there is you're trying to create that space for the third horizon pattern to emerge, right? But what you do is you try and find things that already exist that you can work together to reinforce it. So you're creating a system of reinforcing effect that allows that change to happen. Maastricht has got a great example of that through the problem-based learning approach. It's a phenomenal opportunity that you have to use that really strategically to help create space for even more radical things to emerge. The danger is if you see that as the end in itself, that becomes a problem. If you see it as part of a transformation, the opportunities that come from that, that can be really helpful. Likewise, you also see pockets of the future in the present. You will always see elements of that vision in the present. These might be really radical, different, weird things that you see kind of in your institutions. The things that are marginalized, maybe. And you're looking at, crikey, how does that work? What does that look like? But they probably hold the values, the assumptions, and the worldviews of your future horizon pattern. And then that's a process about nurturing it. But when you start to see these and you recognize them, that can give you a high degree of hope because you can see it already happening. And if you strategically work with that second horizon space in the right way, you can then nurture and bring a pattern shift into the fore. Now, of course, part of anything in a transformation is it's really, really important to celebrate. It's a difficult thing to do, transformation, but celebration is key. What drives motivation? We're celebrating today. That's what today is about. So I'm just going to give you a minute now as an opportunity just to turn to a colleague in front of you, behind you, beside you, maybe with a nod, maybe with a smile, maybe with a handshake or a few words, and just say thank you for all the work that you've done over this last year to get us where we are here. So just turn to your colleagues. Wonderful, wonderful, thank you. Great, that went on a lot longer than I thought it was going to do, but there we go, that's a good sign, that's a good sign. So celebration is really important in that process too, and it's these days that make that important. The last thing that I want to say in the transformation is that, and I think this is, to me, this is the most important one. When we're dealing with transformation, we're dealing with something that's very different from what we've got now. And to do that, we have to bring our whole selves into the room. Universities are brilliant at this intellect stuff, this heavy thinking stuff. But we often forget to bring this part into what we do. Or the whole person, how we're feeling on a day and where we're at with things. I think it's really, really important we bring our whole selves into the room in any conversation that we're having, whether that be for transformation or not. I like this quote from D.H. Lawrence, and he says, "My belief is in the blood and flesh as being wiser than the intellect. The body unconscious is where life bubbles up in us. It's how we know that we're alive to the depths of our souls and in touch somewhere with the vivid reaches of the cosmos. It's really key that we allow that to come out. Joanna Macy also said we're not brains on the end of a stick. We're vital, juicy flesh and blood beings, and ideas become truly real for us through our senses and imagination, through stories, images, rituals that enlist our capacity for devotion, our tears and laughter. All of that has to come into a process of change and how we engage with each other and learn to work with each other collectively to bring about change. And then really finally, is this difficult to do? No, it's not difficult, because that's who we are. We just need to let ourselves do it. This quote from Alan Watts, he said, well, we didn't come into this world, we came out of it, like a wave from the ocean. We're not strangers here. We know how to do this. It's innate in us. It's part of us. It's what makes us human. So let that humanness come into any renewal of our universities that we need. Thank you.
Listen, baby, ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby. If you need me, call me, no matter where you are, no matter how far. Don't worry, baby, just call my name, I'll be there in a hurry. You don't have to worry, 'cause baby, there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe. Remember the day I set you free, told you you could always count on me, darling. From that day on, I made a vow, I'll be there when you want me, some way, somehow. 'Cause baby, there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe. Oh no, darling, no wind, no rain, no winter's cool can't stop me, babe. Stop in a name. If you're ever in trouble, I'll be there on a double. Just send my love, oh baby. Our love is alive, way down in my heart, although we are miles apart. If you ever need a helping hand, I'll be there on the double, just as fast as I can. You know that there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe. Don't you know that there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe. Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from you, babe. Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough to keep me from getting to you, babe.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Facey, for your remarkable contribution. Your words really get to the core of what we are discussing today, and it's a powerful reminder that to think beyond the status quo. I think we all need that. I don't know how to do it exactly, but I think your enthusiasm showed us that we really have to try very hard. And after such a profound reflection, we were reminded of what connects us and gives us strength to overcome obstacles. You listened to Ain't No Mountain High Enough, performed by our own, and yes, we are very proud, alumna from our Faculty of Law, Emmy Akkermans, together with a few members of the ABC Gospel Choir and pianist Rob Mennen. Thank you so much. You've done a great job. And this brings us to the next highlight of the day, the awarding of an honorary doctorate. Professor Rainer Goebel and Allard Roebroek from the Faculty of Psychology and Neuroscience have selected a renowned neuroscientist, widely recognized for her groundbreaking brain research. Hopefully not a brain on a stick. After consultation with the University Council, the Board of Deans of Maastricht University is proud to present an honorary doctorate to Professor Katrien Amunds.
Katrien Amunds is a pioneering neuroscientist and a professor at the University of Düsseldorf. She also serves as director of the Neuroscience Department at the Jülich Research Center, renowned for shaping innovation and change. Her groundbreaking work includes leading the Big Brain Project, a 3D map of the human brain that provides unprecedented insights into its structure. This research not only deepens our understanding of the brain, but also offers new pathways for addressing diseases such as Alzheimer's, paving the way for advancements in personalized medicine. Amunds is also known for her innovative contributions to brain imaging technologies, including 3D polarized light imaging. Katrien's work bridges structural and functional neuroscience, exploring how brain anatomy influences speech, language, and social behavior. As the leader of the Human Brain Project and its successor eBrains, she has united hundreds of scientists across Europe to drive innovation at the intersection of neuroscience, medicine, and computing.
Professor Katrien Amunds has advanced our understanding of the organization and the connectivity of the brain at multiple levels, reaching from the microscopic level of neuronal cells to the macroscopic level of brain areas. I am one of many researchers and teachers that could benefit from the Jülich Brain Atlas and the Big Brain Atlas that she developed with her team. These openly shared three-dimensional digital atlases provide enormous insights into the complexity of the human brain, and they chart the way forward for brain science.
As part of the scientific board, I could benefit from her wisdom and her internationally recognized leadership skills. The large-scale Human Brain Project that she orchestrated led to the possibility to mathematically model patients' brains and thus create starting points for personalized medicine.
We are truly grateful to serve as the promoters of Professor Katrien Amunds
as honorary doctor at Maastricht University.
May I now invite Professor Amunds, along with the promoters, Professor Goebel and Professor Roebroek, to come forward. So you can read the formula.
Yes, dear Katrien, dear Professor Amunds. It's important for me, in order to honor your achievements in science, some of which were beautifully represented in the movie, to tell the audience how complex an organ the brain really is. It's one of the most complex biological systems that we know. Even a cubic millimeter of brain matter contains many cells, as a liver does or a muscle does. But it contains about 400 meters of input wire, dendrites, and 4 kilometers of output wire, axons. And all of those make millions of connections, synapses, in even that cubic millimeter. So to want to chart the connections of the brain, which are its most important aspects, for the size that the brain has, is just a daunting challenge. And it's a challenge that only 20 years ago, I would have thought, many people would have said, is impossible. You've tackled that challenge like no one else with your collaborators and with your colleagues, and for instance, also your former mentor, Carl Zillis. You have done things that no one would have thought possible. And in fact, there were naysayers that said that trying to do paper-thin or even hair-thin sections of an entire brain, 7,000 or 8,000 of them, and try to put them back together into a 3D atlas was impossible. It wasn't impossible. You did it. And I think the biggest testament to your achievement in science is your unwavering perseverance and your dauntedness in making multimodal and multi-scale maps of the brain that we all benefit from, students and scientists alike.
As Professor Rubruck has elucidated, the intricate multi-scale complexity of the human brain necessitates novel and innovative approaches to significantly advance our comprehension of the structure and function of the brain. Katrin, you have recognized early on that significant breakthroughs in understanding the brain's complexity required a novel research culture where large interdisciplinary teams collaborate on shared challenges. Through your exceptional leadership in the Human Brain Project, you successfully orchestrated researchers from many disciplines and institutes across Europe that jointly advanced our understanding of the brain, resulting already in many scientific, technical, and medical breakthroughs. Your perspective on research has also profoundly inspired the development of our new Brain Sciences Bachelor program that was developed from the ground up, according to your vision, by an interdisciplinary team from 3 faculties of Maastricht University: the Faculty of Psychology and Neuroscience, the Faculty of Health, Medicine and Life Science, and the Faculty of Science and Engineering. The mission of this new bachelor is to train a new generation of transdisciplinary brain researchers working at the interface of psychology, neuroscience, medicine, and AI. Dear Katrin, we are grateful for your pioneering and visionary work that has a large impact on fundamental, computational, and clinical brain research around the world, and strongly also here in Maastricht. By not shying away from the sheer complexity of the brain, your work has paved the way to better understand what makes us human. By the authority vested in me by law and in conformity with the decision of the Board of Deans, I hereby confer upon you, Professor Amunds, the degree of Doctor Honoris Causa and all the rights deriving therefrom by law and tradition. As evidence of this, I present to you the degree certificate signed by the Rector, the Dean of the Faculty of Psychology and Neuroscience, Professor Rubruck, and myself, and affixed with the Great Seal of the University, and we put on your shoulders the kappa, which signifies the honor bestowed upon you. Thanks so much. Katrin.
Dear Rector Magnificus, dear President, dear Board of the Deans, dear students, dear colleagues, dear friends. It is my big honor and pleasure to receive today in this beautiful St. Janskert the Honorary Doctorate of Maastricht University. It makes me very happy, but it makes me also very nervous when I listen that my contribution to science is groundbreaking. And certain is that this is not only on mine, but it is a result of the work of a big team and also of an excellent network of researchers. Some of them are here, so I would like to greet and thank also Professor Gövel and Professor Robrock for promoting myself. Together with them and with my colleagues in the Human Brain Project and in eBrains, we are sharing the vision or the ideal to get the comprehensive understanding of the human brain. And, well, we want to better understand what is brain structure related to how the brain really works. And in order to approach this ideal, we need instruments and we need an atlas of the human brain in order to integrate the different aspects of brain organization into this framework in the form of brain maps. When we think about an atlas of the human brain, it has many similarities to an atlas that we know from geographical fields. And such precise maps allowed Dutch ships to travel to other continents and other countries and to trade. But of course, robust ships and precise maps were not sufficient in order to guide the ships, but also navigational instruments were important. And Christian Huygens was one of the first who developed the clock for the use at sea with rocking ships, which was a big progress. And the German-Dutch Hans Lippershey invented one of the first telescopes, and later the captains could better see the coast and of course also the reefs. From the telescopes to the first microscopes was also a small step. And here you see a very famous example of Anthony van Leeuwenhoek's microscope, with which it became possible to study the nerve, the C nerve here, and you can see all the little and tiny nerve fibers that are within this preparation. Today now, we have computerized microscopes which allow us to map the human brain. And this is a piece from the visual cortex, and you can see the different arrangement of nerve cells stained here all in black. And perhaps you see when you follow the curved surface of the cortical ribbon that there is a change in the distribution of cells. Did you see it? It is here at that place, and it subdivides the so-called primary visual cortex area 17 from the secondary visual cortex area 18. So both differ in architecture. They also differ in function. So while 17 is producing a first representation of the visual scene, area 18 is further processing visual information, for example, detecting edges. So we are mapping histological sections like this in order to produce a detailed map of the human brain. And I'm convinced that as a physician, we have the responsibility when working in this field also to give something to medicine to help patients and to better understand how the brain is organized in healthy human subjects, but also in patients. So for that, we have developed the Jülich Brain Atlas, and area 17 is located here, together with 230 more areas that we have mapped in the last 25 years, each labeled with a different color. And the outer layer of the human brain contains many areas which are here very colorful, but we also mapped areas in the depths of the brain labeled here in red. And you can scroll through the atlas, zoom in and zoom out. It's a kind of Google brain, but for the brain, not Google Maps. We also create probabilistic maps that capture the variations between brains, because brains are different. And this is important when you think about patients who are also different. And we develop high-resolution maps, like here for area 17, and you see them in the context of the histological sections where we have mapped this area. And we can now zoom into the cerebral cortex, and you recognized the cells. There are many of them, 86 billion nerve cells, we estimate. And deep learning and AI help us now to identify each single cell. And AI also will be instrumental in addressing the next challenge, that is develop a three-dimensional model of the human brain at 1 micrometer where every single cell is represented, to get even deeper insights into the brain organization. At the same time, AI is not only supporting us as neuroscientists, but what we know from the brain, from its connectivity, from the neurobiological substrate of learning and plasticity, is more and more influencing the way AI is being done. And there is a whole new field, neuro-AI, forming that we, of course, would like to shape and bring in knowledge from human brain neuroscience. And with Rainer Goebel and team, Mario Senden, for example, there are pioneers in the field based here in Maastricht. So I'm really proud that I'm now also part of this University of Maastricht. And at the end, I would like to thank also my collaborators in Jülich, in Düsseldorf, in the Human Brain Project, and in Maastricht. And thank you for your attention and for having me here today.
Like a fool, I went and stayed too long. Now I'm wondering if your love's so strong. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. Then that time I went and said goodbye. Now I'm back and not ashamed to cry. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. Here I am, baby. Ooh, signed, sealed, got the future in your hands. Yeah. Here I am, baby. Ooh, signed, sealed, got the future in your hands. Yeah. Done a lot of foolish things that I really didn't mean, but ooh yeah, baby. Seen a lot of things in this old world. Touch them, they mean nothing, girl. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. Ooh, babe, you set my soul on fire. That's why I know you're my heart's only desire. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. Here I am, baby. Future in your hands, yeah. Here I am, baby. Ooh, got the future in your hands, yeah. I've done a lot of foolish things that I really didn't mean. I could be a broken man, but here I am, baby. Ooh, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. Ooh, here I am. Here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I am, baby.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emmy, Rob, and the members of the Gospel Choir for this wonderful, wonderful song. I know for sure that it was not for me here, because I'm the ceremony master and I'm a more strict at this university, I'm sure some of our professors would start dancing. I actually saw some dancing deans, almost dancing deans. So thank you so much, and also many, many thanks to Professor Amunds. Thank you for sharing your work, sharing your perspectives with us, and we are very, very honored to present this award to you today. We've seen some great research by Professor Amunds, but also, as I mentioned in my introductory speech, education lies at the heart of who we are as a university. It is not just a foundation we build on, but also a source of pride. And it is not just me saying this as responsible for education for this university, but actually this year we had a visit by external panels who looked at the quality of our education and also about our international character of our education. And they were both very, very proud and very positive of what we have achieved. So I think we can be very proud of that. Now, because education is so important, each year we present the Winand Wijnen Education Prize, an award that honors staff members who have made an exceptional contribution to education. And this year, our jury, as shown on the screen here behind me, once again faced the challenging task of evaluating all the initiatives and efforts submitted. And first of all, every single nomination deserves a round of applause. So please give them a hand. So now, and it's a surprise to the winner as well, so let's find out who this year's winner is.
The Winand Wijnen Education Prize, named after one of the founders of the university, is a prize for people at UM whose efforts to improve UM teaching has earned them a place in the spotlight.
Oscar's dedicated to education. He's an education person and he lives for UM education, for problem-based learning. That's his work and his passion.
He's such an inspiring thinker, but also doer and feeler. He really embodies the whole idea of liberal arts and science.
There's more to praising people that lay the fundamentals of a new program. I think it's also about what you do outside of the courses. He developed a song for one of the very first graduation ceremonies, which we still sing at each and every graduation ceremony. That has nothing to do with credits, it has nothing to do with grades, it's about creating a community that is engaged, both staff members and students.
He's one of the founders of the Education Days, a big celebration of UM education in June, 2 days with almost 200 people.
Working with Oscar is like being part of a little Dead Poets Society where you just get to listen to music, recite poetry, and at the same time wonder about all of these marvelous things in the world and how we can actually help talented, driven young people to make the transition from knowledge consumers to knowledge producers.
Oscar komt in alles wat hij doet terug op wat voor studenten belangrijk is en wat voor hun bijdraagt aan hun studentensucces. En daagt de universiteit en ons continu uit om daar de focus op te houden. Hij kijkt ontzettend ver vooruit in het onderwijslandschap en weet al jaren van tevoren wat er komen gaat.
He can really kindle the fire of curiosity, not just in students but also in colleagues.
So we are just happy to have Oscar on board.
Oscar, gefeliciteerd met deze prachtige prijs. Ik weet zeker dat je hem in alle aspecten verdiend hebt. En ik hoop dat je er ontzettend van zult gaan genieten.
Oscar, you rock.
Congratulations, Oscar. It's about damn time you got this award. Within that.
Yes, it's people and initiatives like these that contribute to us continuing to innovate as a university, to serve society, and to make a meaningful impact. Congratulations to Oscar van der Wijngaard on receiving the Winand Wijnen Education Prize. His commitment, I have many nice words about Oscar, so you have to be patient. His commitment to educational innovation, as well as his work on academic advising and the integration of research and teaching, has had a tremendous impact on our students and the broader educational community. And we greatly, greatly appreciate his dedication. So, Oscar, I think you more than deserve this prize. And that's why I hereby award the Winand Wijnen Education Prize to you. Look at it. Oh. There you go. Thank you. And we have a certificate for you.
Thank you so much.
So, would you like to tell us a few words what this award means to you, Oscar?
In this place, I'm more. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm more inclined to start singing the UCM song, to be honest. It means a lot to me, to be honest. And I've thought of things to say, and then there were several speakers, including you and Professor Fezi, who said all the things I wanted to say. But I could have never crammed them into a minute, but it really represented what I value about what we offer as a university, and particularly to our students. As an institution, developing maybe more criticality, if you will, but helping our students to do the same. And I've loved that. So the whole person thing, bringing that is really spoke to me. So I am, I'm actually shaking a little bit. I am really moved by this recognition because it humbles me sort of at all levels. I truly think that you never do, whenever you do something really meaningful, you're not doing it alone. But it's also nice to be recognized individually for some of that. So thanks so much for those who nominated and for the jury for making this very wise decision. Thank you very much.
Gefeliciteerd. Super goed gedaan. Ontzettend fijn. Ja, doen we dat. Ja. We are so happy to have people like these, because this is what makes our education great. As well as our students, of course, because earlier this morning, we awarded the Bachelor Student Prizes 2024 to 23 bachelor students during a separate ceremony. And these student prizes honor the best thesis from all our faculties. It was really inspiring to see these very, very talented students, and I've seen topics ranging from very complex chemical structures to sustainability to Grinder. Yes, also that was done. Really impressive to see how much talent we have here. Really, students who are still young, who are still starting their careers and capable of contributing and making impact with their research. So for those who are interested, that was a live session, but you can still find it online. So the students I'm looking for, we also have a picture of this morning. The 23 of them, yes, they were online. I was in our building, and they had beautiful videos of their supervisors saying a few nice words about them. They could react, so it was a great, great morning. In addition to the bachelor student prizes, Stichting Wetenschapsbeoefening of our university acknowledges 1 or 2 master students per faculty each year for their outstanding achievements. And this recognition underscores their exceptional thesis and includes a prize of €500 along with an award certificate. And we are very pleased to announce that this year 8 winners of the 2024 Master Student Prizes. And in the following video, they will briefly present themselves and their intriguing thesis topics.
My thesis explores human decision-making surrounding COVID-19 infection risk in social circles. Earlier research has already shown that people base their infection risk decisions on very easily identifiable aspects of their network. Think about the amount of people walking around you or the distance between them. I build upon this knowledge by showing that there's actually a high correlation between these mental shortcuts and these aspects and the correctness of people's decisions. Interesting, however, is that this is not a one-directional relationship. Some aspects affected positively, while some affected negatively.
For my thesis, I did research on appearance-related psychosocial distress following facial skin cancer surgery. We found that patients experience significant psychosocial distress after facial skin cancer surgery, and this even up to 1 year after surgery. Patients with secondary intention healing and graft reconstruction methods are at an even greater risk. These findings emphasize the need for more psychological care and more detailed information about scars, since scars need more than 1 year to fully heal. Addressing these aspects could reduce appearance-related concerns and improve patients' quality of life.
In my thesis, I develop a robust statistical approach to identify time-varying relationships in such datasets. What's more, the model can automatically identify groups of units that behave in the same way over time. So, for example, groups of countries that experience a similar decline in their per capita emissions as technological progress kicks in. But my model can be used in all kinds of disciplines, helping practitioners from economics or sociology or ecology to find important insights in data.
Because eye gaze is a powerful tool in social bonding and communication of emotions between people, my thesis investigated how oxytocin, known as the love hormone, affects human gaze toward the eyes. We found that among men participants, oxytocin increased gaze to the eyes of female celebrities only when their chest area was covered. Generally, the meta-analysis revealed that increases in eye gaze after oxytocin are mostly minimal and limited to certain experimental conditions, with the most pronounced effects among patients with autism spectrum disorder.
When the cartilage and the bone beneath it are damaged, it can cause a painful disease called osteoarthritis. Stem cells called periosteum-derived cells have been shown to be promising in repairing this type of damage. My thesis focused on how these cells, collected from individual donors, act when the joint repairment process is simulated in a lab setting. We found they can grow cartilage-like tissue, which is important for joint repairment process, however their behavior varied. By identifying patterns in how they act, we've taken an important step towards using these cells potentially in therapies for joint damage repair.
In conversations at any given point, there are endlessly many possibilities on how to continue the conversation. In my master thesis, I created a method that's similar to how our universe is made up of a stage between space and time, learns a stage between the semantics, the meaning, and the turn distance of utterances in a vector space. By utilizing this method, we create a steering mechanism through conversations where we keep the ideal future self close in this embedding space and push all utterances that embody the shadow far away.
Seksueel grensoverschrijdend gedrag is de laatste jaren steeds vaker onderwerp van gesprek.
In zedenzaken loopt men al gauw aan tegen bewijsproblematiek. Er is immers vaak het woord van het slachtoffer tegenover het woord van de verdachte. In mijn masterscriptie onderzoek ik welke rol schakelbewijs in deze bewijsproblematiek kan vervullen en hoe schakelbewijs in zedenzaken wordt toegepast in de feitrechtspraak. Deze bewijsconstructie kent de nodige haken en ogen en is dus niet geschikt voor alle zedenzaken. In die zaken die zich hier wel verlenen, kan schakelbewijs er echter voor zorgen dat de bewijsdrempel alsnog wordt behaald.
My thesis belongs to the field of critical dementia studies, which addresses issues of systemic injustice experienced by people living with dementia. My research had two methodological components. It was a documentary analysis of Italian documentaries on dementia regarding participatory filmmaking. The results were that people living with dementia, they're often either excluded from the research or they're spoken for by family members or professionals. So I spent 5 days in a daycare center where I worked with 14 people living with dementia. What I learned from my fieldwork is how easy it is to perpetrate epistemic injustice and how necessary it was for me to unlearn my ableist gaze.
Congratulations to all of you. You've done a great job. It's great to see diversity in topics and the dedication, your dedication to doing research here at our university. Unfortunately, Levi and Katarzyna could not be here today. They will receive their certificate at home. But I would like to invite the other 6 winners to take their certificate and come to the stage. Please. Congratulations. There you go. Hi, gefeliciteerd. There you go. Oh, yes. Oh, this one is somebody else's. I almost stole Oscar's. Congratulations. Congratulations, well done. Congratulations, very well done. Here we go, we are going to take a picture all together. Be careful with all the things around us. Can we fit? Oh, are we okay, the photographer? Thank you. Congratulations again, and you deserve it. You can take a seat again. Thank you. There's a lot of family and friends and phones, so good. And now we are proceeding to the presentation of the Dissertation Prize, an award that celebrates the academic achievements of our doctoral candidates, highlighting the depth and their research at the potential impacts of their field and society. And this prize is made possible by Nanne de Vries Professors Fund. Professor de Vries recently passed away, and he is missed dearly by many of us in the room today. Professor de Vries used to present this prize with great enthusiasm during the ceremony for many, many years, and I am sure he would have enjoyed seeing this year's winner. But now I invite Professor Sally Wyatt to come forward and do the great job Nanne was doing for many years on behalf of the Professors Fund to announce the winner of the 2024 Dissertation Prize.
Thank you. Very difficult act to follow, Professor de Vries. So the Dissertation Prize is awarded alternately to the Randwijk and the Inner City Cluster. This year, the honor goes to the Inner City Cluster, which includes the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, the Faculty of Law, and the School of Business and Economics. Now, a slide you can see with the nominations. So please give a round of applause to this very diverse set of nominations. The prize consists of a beautiful sculpture, which we'll see in a moment, and €3,500 from the Nonna de Vries Professors Fund. And this is a moment for advertising. You're all invited to support that financially in the future so that we can give future prizes. And in a moment, I think you'll see the names of the jury members. There we all are, from the three different faculties. Despite the diversity and the very high quality of the nominated dissertations, the jury came to a unanimous decision. And the 2024 Dissertation Prize goes to Dr. Giulia Giardi from the Faculty of Law. Wait a minute. Good clap. You don't even know what it's about yet. The title is Illegal Waste Management Activity in the Process of Bunker Fuel Production, which might sound a bit kind of dry, but it was incredibly well written, incredibly interesting, and a very wonderful topic. But there is a video.
Waste oils come from several industrial processes, for example, the creation of solvents or petrochemicals. And instead of getting rid of them in the way that the law requires, companies can save a lot of money or even make some profit when they use these oils as a product instead. And the product is a blend component, an element that makes up bunker fuel, which is the fuel that runs ships all over our globe. And the reason it's a problem is that it's actually very harmful to both the environment and our health. We're breathing in these oils that are being burned in a way that's not adequate. That's why there are rules that prohibit it being done in this way. My research takes data that's from the police. These are cases, criminal cases that the police here in the Netherlands have been investigating for years and to bring it to trial. And takes that out and looks at, okay, what is the context that actually facilitates these criminal activities? What is it about the industries in which these activities occur that makes it so appealing and so easy to actually commit these crimes? I try to make sense of that by looking at rules and economic circumstances, as well as the information from the crimes themselves. So really how these acts of fraud and environmental harm took place in very fine-grained detail. I put that all together to get a sense of how can we actually make the situation change. And I also got to work closely with the police and see how they really were learning about this type of criminal activity and how enthusiastic they were in trying to stop this type of activities from happening. Each of us has a role to play in this. Of course, institutions like the police and the public prosecution can do a lot. Companies have a really big role to play in changing their practices, but each of us can simply be more aware of what we are doing through our consumption and call for different political choices to be made in order to make a difference in these industries.
There she is. May I invite Giulia to come forward? The jury was very much impressed with the thesis, which it considers theoretically sophisticated, very rigorously researched, which we saw in the film, very well organized, and written in a very accessible and clear style. The thesis combines theoretical insights from very different disciplines: environmental criminology, organizational criminology, green criminology, which is a kind of new thing, I think, and international, European, and Dutch law. You managed to analyze a very complex phenomenon from both a legal and criminological perspective. And you show through a solid and methodologically impressive case study how illegal waste management activities in the process of producing this bunker fuel can be actually mitigated. You also formulated recommendations that underline both the academic and societal relevance of the thesis, and lots of ideas for further equally important research. This prize is very well deserved. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, first of all, for the nomination for the awarding of the prize. I was shocked, to be honest, when I found out. What this means to me, this was what I was invited to think about, and well, I think anyone working at a university in whatever capacity is at least a little bit of a perfectionist. So I think you'll all understand that getting something like this helps to assuage a little bit of that self-doubt that each of us has to live with every day. It's also a beautiful sign. I graduated my bachelor's here, I got my master's degree in this room. So it makes me feel very much part of the community. It's a great way to celebrate that, having grown up here. And from a more global and institutional perspective, I think it's wonderful that something focusing on environmental issues gets to be at the forefront and is basically mainstream nowadays. It's a great sign for where we're supposed to be heading. Thank you very much.
Joyful, joyful, we adore you, God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers for you, opening to the sun above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the dark of doubt away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light of day. Field and forest
So dancing deans after all. What a great closure of the day. Emmy, Rob, the members of the ABC Gospel Choir, your performance of Ode an die Freude was a really an uplifting conclusion to this celebration. So I think they do deserve one more round of applause. Now, dear guests, dear students, colleagues, this marks the end of the ceremony for the 49th Dies Natalis. We hope to bring a sense of positivity today, in a time when the future of universities and society as a whole feels uncertain. We must continue to engage in dialogue and hold on to the strength that unites us. So thank you all for making this a truly memorable occasion. Ain't no mountain high enough. Of course, we are looking forward to welcoming you all next year, because then we are officially 50 years old, and then some tend to say then you are not young anymore. Every year I get closer, I kind of change to move that 50 a bit away and say, well, you're getting older when you are older. Anyhow, speaking of the mountain, I now invite you all to join us for the reception at the Minderbroedersberg. And Professor Fazy told us today, it's so flat here. I said, flat? This is the only place where we actually have mountains. So this year, the appetizers will be prepared by Restaurant Enigma, run by talented young entrepreneurs Lisa and Ferry. Their inventive dishes, made with passion and locally sourced ingredients, many from their own garden, promise to surprise us. And we are very excited to experience their creativity. So I hope to see you all there. And please remain seated for just another moment and give the cortege the honor of leaving the church first. The people seated in the first rows in front of me will follow. And after that, you can all leave the church. You can also stay. I'm not sure, but I don't think everybody wants to. I now officially conclude this academic ceremony, and I would like to ask the cortege to kindly lead the way. Thank you again for coming, and have a wonderful evening.
betaal je, wat je zoiets van.
Nee.